Love or fear here, guys. So I was told to do a reading, and um, I feel like that's still going to be an occurrence. And then universe decided to step in and give me a whole bunch of information before I could get the opportunity to actually set up for the reading. So I was instructed to share all of that information as well. And pardon my fall over there. We'll probably just edit that out. Maybe. So some of the details that I received, and I do have to write things down because when, like a lot of people that are given the gift of channeling, I don't remember. So if it's not written down, I lose it within 2 minutes. So some of the things they shared with me, there's going to be, of course, the dark side, the shadow side, the things that can be harmful. I don't necessarily get a lot of details about all of it. And then there is some of the things we can do to kind of counter the effects. This is all about what's going on globally. There is a lot of fear, a lot of panic, a lot of concerns regarding what's going on. How do we manage? And in the U.S., actually all over the world, there's community lockdowns, state lockdowns, national lockdowns, where non-essential travel, businesses, corporations, stores, restaurants, all of these types of industries are basically being closed down, and the duration of which we have no idea. And I know that's being a really big concern for a lot of people, a lot of communities. So some of the things that universe gave me are, in order to prepare for some of those longer, larger potential concerns, things to look out for, how to mitigate. Some of that was given to me, not all of it. It may be community dependent, state dependent, country dependent. So one of the things that they gave me to watch out for, something about water. Some areas may experience some kind of issue. Pay attention to what's coming out of your faucets, your sinks. I can't promise you that that's what the water issue will be or where it will manifest. It could be something else. But they gave me the image of, basically a sink spigot and water running out of it. And, it just kind of had that feeling of something not being right. And that's all the information I received about that. They showed me gardens, produce gardens, urban gardening, people contacting local farmers to, do whatever they could to, if you have a space to put, an egg hen, and product exchanges. It's at least here in the U.S., it's spring. It is time to start planting for those who do. Even if you don't, if you live in an apartment, there is a solid recommendation to begin to grow your own produce, herbs, whatever you can accommodate. If you own a home and you can accommodate, a larger gardening area for things like corns and squashes and that take up more room, and then set up an exchange system in your community, some sort of system where, people that can grow those larger items, and then people who are in apartments. I was shown larger farms, kind of being, I don't want to say fallow, but more like no maintenance, like they were overgrown, and things weren't being harvested at the appropriate time. And it's not that none of these things that we grow and ship locally It may have something to do with shipping. I read something about gas prices and stock and whatnot. So that it could be from that shipments from other states, your avocados, your greenhouse tomatoes, and citrus from Florida, and your fish from the Maine coast, from Maine and again Florida, those types of areas. It may just be that shipping is influenced, and some states aren't getting certain products. So to help offset some of those shortages, help take care of yourself and your neighbors and set up some sort of exchange system. We don't know how long this is going to last. Again, this is just information that the universe gave me. Plus, it helps support your community regardless, and create and build connection with each other. And you don't have to be in contact with people. You can do things with letters or notes instead of screaming halfway down the street, or what have you. Set up a community newsletter. Have people sign up digitally to volunteer. Community gardens are probably not going to be real functional right now because of that, no groups, big groups, and staying 6 feet away from people. So this is an alternative to be a lot of needs that are looking to be a potential reality. And because of the physical distance, they address the emotional disconnect, the loss of sense of community, and that's a whole separate message that they sent to me a few minutes later. And it's far more intense than I would have guessed. They also, all of this is related to the pending economic collapse with the shutdown of businesses, travel being restricted, and issues with the gas and non-essential commodities. There is going to be a massive economic backlash, and there is going to be a lot of loss of income, and that means spending. So we're going to get hit probably harder than the current economists are projecting, is what I got. And some of this is in preparation to offset that economic and material hardship that some people are going to experience. So let's make sure everybody gets to eat. Like I said, it is that planting time, and I'm sure you can go to your local hardware store. Those are still open, will be open, and get some seeds. Or if you have something at home already that is a seed carrier, there are methods of retaining those seeds. Set them in a paper towel on your windowsill to dry out, and then go plant them. If it's a squash, an apple, if you have the space to do something that large. But whatever you can do, you can even plant corn on the cob. If you go buy a package of corn on the cob from the grocery store, you can, dig a nice hole and throw it in the ground. Don't cook it, and you will have corn plants. So, if that works for you and you have the space, definitely take one of those cobs, throw it in the ground, grow some corn for your family and your neighbors. So that's a strong recommendation from the universe, and not even a recommendation. I mean, I get these things sometimes in pictures, and it just had, I just got these images of gardens, and I can't describe what the rest of the message looks like. I just know what's supposed to happen with it. So there is that exchange of goods. If you can afford to buy extra to distribute to your neighbors, do so. rebuild that sense of community, and keep that emotional connection with others going, keep that vibration high. They also showed me pictures of, people in the street, a lot like what Italy's doing, but differently, because we're not under martial law yet. Okay. Anyway, even if you're not a musical person, if you have pots and pans, whatever, the point isn't the quality of the music. The point is music is vibratory. And it's something you can do without being in contact, in physical contact. You can do it from several feet away. Get your friends, your family, your neighbors out, on the block. And who cares what it sounds like? The point isn't about, making an album. It is a way to bring people together, do it safely, and still give that opportunity to build that source of collaboration and connection, and keep the vibration of the community around you up. It's a sourced method of joy and happiness, and brings you closer to self, closer to source. Doesn't matter what label you use, God, universe, Allah, whatever works for you. And eases the tension and stresses of the day-to-day that we are all going to experience to some degree or another. So help each other, keep your spirits lifted. Laughter is the best medicine. Generate as much of that as you can. Collaborate, rebuild community, collective music. They also said to remind people to meditate and to get their exercise. This calms and centers, body, mind, and spirit. And when we are stressed and anxious and worried, it lowers our immune system. So this is really about keeping your physical health, your mental health intact and supported. So make sure if you're not a meditator, there's lots and lots of ways and methods, lots of video instructions, guided meditations on YouTube. Just spend that time, get yourself grounded, work through whatever it is you might have going on in the moment, so that when you go to bed that night, you can do so in peace and relaxed, and be prepared to deal with whatever comes up the next day. I mean, this is a healthy practice regardless, but right now, from a physical standpoint, thoughts are energy, and it's proven. Thoughts are energy, and it will influence the release of hormones and biological changes, and it will render your immune system less effective. So take care of your body in more ways than one. It's not just food and sleep, those are critical, but getting in that exercise and that meditation, both. Getting in enjoyment, relaxation, laughing. Just because we have a situation to be diligently managed does not mean we have to be in suffering. Does not mean we have to be in pain as we work through all of these challenges that the world is now facing. And all of these recommendations, I keep calling them recommendations. I have conversations sometimes with the universe, and it's how you address other people. And that is not how the universe shows up. But they told me to make sure to warn the collective, the general public, warn against apathy. All of these things, we already have a lot of apathy due to digital media, electronics, Facebook, texting. We are in global communication, but we are not in global connection. There is a difference. And this is a push to release apathy and still connect. Physical isolation and separation can easily generate and increase a state of apathy. That is not the purpose of all of this. And yes, there is a purpose to all of this, and that was the intensely channeled message. So the recorded camera shut off somewhere midway through, so I have to do the rest of it. So if there's kind of a jump, I'm going to splice the videos together, and I apologize if it's a little disruptive. So, just like all the other information, and I have to write things down when it comes through, especially when it's a direct channel, because as stated before, I'm kind of an observer, and they will kind of message through me, and I'm writing or typing, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of read what they gave me, rather than trying to paraphrase. So that way maybe it might make a little bit more sense, and then I'll backtrack a little bit. So what they had to say was that the fear and panic that's currently rising regarding the concrete world circumstances is a call to elevate vibrations and force as many people as possible into doing their inner work. Universe is acting as one global trigger involving separation, fear, insecurity, instability, lack mentality, self-worth, and value. Because if one cannot support their family, many will be triggered into recognition that this is not a self-value, self-worth based issue, but rather something else deep within, and in order to make it through, the paradigm of ego will have to shift. It is also a calling out of developed light workers and human guides to move people who are on the journey, more into themselves, into understanding, and into understanding of the truth of one. Okay, cut off again. Let's see, we have lost that sense of connectedness. We have forced people we deem unworthy into separation and isolation. And now it is happening globally in order to trigger the human collective healing necessary to manifest something more balanced. With separation, we cannot ascend into oneness, and energy is incomplete in its cycle of life and causes the suffering and pain of that experience to continue. We are ready, even if not prepared, to terminate this cycle. To restore balance to universe, as humanity is the only energy that has not soulfully matured, to recognize that if one feature of existence is disrupted, then the influence disrupts all existence in all time and space infinitely. The expansion and contraction of the known universe is in response to this imbalance, and the holes in space continuums will continue to increase if we do not sufficiently address the energetic frequencies. It is not intended for humanity to be in a state of perfection. The species is in its infancy of development. It is not expected to run when it has just barely come from the womb of creation. But it has wreaked havoc regardless of source, and has been slowly working with all lower energies to influence the shift back to what is suitable for the stage of development that we are actually in. Time is not a factor. Physical presence is not a factor. The development is through the exercises expressed in union with Source as a singular unit of presence. This is a global trigger, a global tower. Transformation is coming. We can resist or we can heal. Tell the truth of it to those who would work for restoration. So there it is. That's the message. And to address some things, So basically, the message from the universe is that with the circumstances, people losing jobs, income, a, a lot of pain comes in emotionally, psychologically, because we place so much of our perception of worth and value as a human being, as a person, as an identity in our work environment, and how much we make and what we can buy, and that material expression of wealth, which we then correlate to what is our inner value. That is that concept, that belief that our material world is how we are, what our value is not true. So that's what universe was communicating, is that this situation is going to trigger the recognition that our innate value and worth is not based in the material. It is not based on money. It is not based on how much can you go out and buy. It is not based on who has the biggest TV or the biggest house or the most expensive car. Self-value is innate and it is infinite. There's no external expression that can encompass the truth of our value. So, without it being something that is caused by an action or behavior that you did, it's not personal. It's a circumstance, it's a global situation. So it's going to force people to recognize that distinction between the internal and the external. Calling out of developed light workers and human guides, truth of oneness. There's some religions that don't ascribe to that philosophy. Universe has requested that I strongly encourage any faith, any belief system to reconsider that position, because that separation between the higher power, regardless of label, and ourselves is extremely limiting, is what they've communicated to me. And this is one of the things that we manifest: separation and disconnect and apathy between each other. What connects us all is that same source, that same higher power, that same source energy, no matter what you call it. It's that is what connects us together. So universe is really pushing humanity to acknowledge and recognize our interconnectedness with each other and with the infinite. So that's what that part is about. And again, religion and spirituality are not the same thing. Religion is an expression of spirituality. So faith and religion have no bearing in the context of this is not limited to a specific type of belief system or a specific expression. If you read the Bible and believe in God and Jesus and the Holy Ghost, great. That's great. If you believe in the Quran and Allah and, pray 5 times a day, great. That's great. That's an expression of your spirituality. So how you practice that connectedness with your higher power, how you connect with your higher self and your soul being, that doesn't matter. It's a method, it's a route to the same destination. So that's part of the message that they wanted to make sure I communicated. And then of course they express how we have willfully separated and isolated, that even though we have these global communications and connections through media and through technology, we are not actually connecting energetically. We are not connecting with each other on a very real and concrete way. And as human beings, we do need that contact. We need touch. We need touch therapy. Anybody's welcome to look that up if you are not terribly familiar with developmental psychology. That may be an unfamiliar term. You can even look at cancer research where touch therapy is utilized between family members. And all that means is that when you are in physical contact with someone that you love, it actually changes your biological responses and increases your ability to fight off illness and disease. Again, this is something that's researched. This is why I call myself the pragmatic spiritualist, because we have evidence to support these types of things in ways that a lot of people don't seem to recognize. So human contact, human connection is very necessary. However, there are ways to engage in that same type of connectedness with one another without necessarily having to be in physical contact. So when they gave me the information regarding the urban gardening, the music in particular, by whatever means, whether it's a neighborhood choir or whatever, because music's vibration. So that's the reason that they gave me that particular suggestion. You can do anything. You can have play frisbee. Make sure it's one that's new and it's clean and nobody is sick. Stand in the street, play frisbee. Just do things to raise your vibration and to connect with the people around you, because we are all going to need that extra support in one way or another. And that is what that's what this push is to get away from this apathetic disconnect that technology has helped us just fall into without any awareness of what we were doing. We talk about it all the time. It's on the news and it's in articles and it's researched, but we haven't actually moved into doing anything about it. And so this situation takes the choice away, forces us into isolation and separation. And then all of a sudden we are all recognizing, oh, wow, we really need to have this. We really do, but we didn't do it when we could have as an option. That whole concept of free will. So now universe has stepped in and said, you know what? We need to reset this. We need to step in, intervene, and create a circumstance and situation that forces people to recognize what they are doing to each other with this level of disconnect, with this level of apathy, with this level and lack of compassion and community. Because universe, God, source, again, labels, it's about unconditional love. And true unconditional love is directed both inwardly and then outwardly. It is an expression of both. So there is a push from source to, heal self, fill your own cup first, so that we can be that expression of, holy love. I mean, universal love, that unconditional expression of compassion, where nothing else puts a barrier between any of us. There is no us versus them, me versus you. We are not generating that ongoing sense of mine is mine and yours is yours, and the twain shall never meet. That's what this is a very strong push to change all of that. and the reminder that we cannot ascend into oneness. You can call it heaven, you can call it, the pearly gates, whatever works for you. Again, I'm really, really big about labels, because however you connect with it, however you identify it, that's just the expression by which you can relate to the same concepts. So you can replace the language however you choose. They're just words. The ideas, the concepts, the energy, that's all the same. That is unchanging. So by oneness, this is returning to source energy, returning to heaven, returning to God, to our original pure soul self. That's what oneness means. And that the understanding that even if you are, say, Christian or Catholic, and you believe in creationism, there is still that source of oneness. God created all of us. We are all of God. And there is no separation between any of us. No one is better than, no one is less than. We are all of God. We all have God energy. So if God created Adam and then created Eve and breathed life into those, then that means those creations, those beings, those first people that are talked about in the Bible were breathed into life by God. That means they are of God. They are of the same life force, life energy that is God. We have a direct connection. We all do. And it's all the same connection, regardless of faith, regardless of religion. It's all the same source. So that's what that return to oneness means, is recognizing that there is no separation between us and God, like the sun and the rays of the sun. We're like the rays. You cannot have the rays without the sun. And the rays are not different from the sun. They're an expression of the sun. It's a simplified analogy, but it works mostly. I'm not an astronomer. I don't know anything about the expansion and contraction of the known universe. I mean, I know of it. I know, read up a little bit on it. The holes in the space continuums, I have no clue. It would take an astronomer or some sort of astrophysicist or somebody like that to even. I'm just a vessel, guys. That's it. I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know anything about these things. Just what came through. And then the reassurance that this is all about a restoration of energetic balance in the universe. There is no expectation for those who are on the spiritual journey, on the spiritual path, on a healing path, to suddenly become as Jesus or Buddha and being perfect. That's not the intention. It's that we are causing more chasms and more damage than the suitability for our existence. We shouldn't be at this stage of separation and destruction this early in our manifested reality. That's the message of the universe, is that we are walking a path of destruction way faster than our existence should warrant. So we need to get back on track and get those things back in balance, and then the rest of the universe will be in balance. And as I've said before, and as my name is granted by them, we can resist or we can heal. So this is all about that choice between love and fear. We can choose to deal with global situations and crisis, or local even. It doesn't have to be about this particular situation. It can be about anything. It can be about something that happened in your work day in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. It is always a choice. Always. You can resist or you can heal. This is an event of the global proportion, obviously. This is the universe saying we need as many people to get in balance within as possible, because it influences the energetic balance of the rest of the universe. And everything has a foundation of, again, religion and spirituality do not matter even in this. Everything is comprised of energy. You can have energy without matter, but you cannot have matter without energy. Energy is the root of all existence in everything known and unknown universe. Energy can be channeled. We see it every day. This is a mechanism of channeled energy. You know, it's got no wires, it's got no cords. You know, it's all done through the cosmos, through the means of harnessing and channeling and directing a particular type of frequency, a particular type of energy. Our bodies do the same thing. Our minds do the same thing. Thought is energy. How we think, how we perceive, how we believe generates an energetic signature. You can see it on brain scans, the little boop, 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 boop. You can see the brain activity. Those are electrical impulses. Do you think those electrical impulses just stay there? I mean, how do you think we're all different? And yet we're all the same. So we do have the ability to direct and channel energy. We have the ability to choose how our energy is going to be expressed both within and without. You know, we have the ability to transmit energy. So, you know, if we can harness it in a piece of plastic and glass, if we can, you know, act as, you know, a magnetic draw for lightning, if we experience gravity because of that exchange of energy between mass, matter, and energy, then why can't we filter, process, channel, direct, and utilize energy ourselves when that's the foundation of our very existence? So when we choose love, which is those higher vibrations, joy, peace, happiness, they do resonate at a higher energetic frequency. You see it all over the internet and whatnot. And at one point I actually found a research document that did examine brainwaves and at what megahertz frequency that they triggered on that in that study. And I haven't been able to find it since, but they did this study looking at, you know, your quote negative energies, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sadness, depression, anxiety, anger, all of that, and then of course your joy, happiness, love. And there was a very measurable difference in the resonance of those emotional frequencies, and the lower emotions were at a lower frequency and had a lower resonance, and of course the more positive emotions had a higher frequency and had a higher resonance. And there's lots of research on music therapy, and how it resonates and reverberates in the body. Dolphins and cancer patients, I mean, there's so many ways to put all these pieces together to show that we absolutely have the ability to receive and to transmit and to channel and direct actual energetic vibration into the universe, to each other, between each other. You know, you could spend days and days and days, and you would find piles of research that correlates all this information. Even if you are not a spiritual person, there's scientific evidence for this stuff. So you can actually choose, and when we heal the wounds, that reduces those negative frequencies and shifts them into an ability to what we call transmutation into a higher frequency, which at a cellular level is healthier and more resistant to illness and disease. We can see that in cancer studies. I'm not going to post links on all this stuff. It would take me hours to find it all. But it is out there, and it is available, and it is proven. So that's why the universe has given me this name, Love or Fear, because, and this purpose of guiding people into healing. Because it is the intention of our purpose in existence is to live in that state of higher vibration, to be closer to the frequency of source, to be in that Christ-like state. I'm sure plenty of people have heard that particular correlation, that Christ-like state, and that is our purpose. And you can't do that if you are walking around offended, defensive, traumatized, injured, and constantly thinking you're worthless or you're valueless or you're not good enough or what have you. That is, you know, and this disconnect between ourselves doesn't allow us to have those energy exchanges between each other. You know, have you ever walked into a room and seen someone that just made you feel really good just because they put off this great energy? You vibed with them or whatever, you know, oh man, they have such a great vibe, you know, and just you suddenly feel like being social and you feel like talking to them and you're just kind of drawn to that. Well, that's what that higher level frequency does. And that is the place that the universe is really pushing us to head into. At some point, I'll go over messages I got last year, but mostly I need to right now get this message out. There will be a reading later, just to kind of supply additional guidance for those who may want it, need it. Messages for whoever needs to hear it. And it'll be a collective message for those whose energy is being drawn in. So with all that, be well, be safe. Sorry, but I turned that off. Stay healthy, stay diligent, be smart, take care of yourselves, and take care of those around you as well. Namaste.